Welcome back to the Uncommon Man Project podcast, where high performance meets higher purpose. This isn't just another podcast, it's a movement, a call to rise for the man done performing, done pretending, and ready to lead from something deeper than ambition alone. Because being a man today isn't about having all the answers, it's about having the courage to ask better questions, to burn the false self, to surrender control, and to step fully into your power, not as a title, but as a truth. Today, I am joined by someone I deeply respect, someone whose journey I've witnessed both personally and professionally. Gareth is a father, a founder, and a man who has walked the path from grind to grounded. He's the owner and operator of Pie Me Cafe, a growing hospitality brand that's redefining what it means to lead with soul in business. Behind the brand is a story, one of awakening, burnout, surrender, and reclamation. Gareth isn't just a savvy businessman, he's a guide, a teacher, and a living example of what it looks like to do the inner work while building something that lasts. He's facilitated retreats across Europe, supported countless others through their own evolution, and continues to walk this path, not as a guru, but as a man in practice. This conversation is for anyone who's felt the tension between building something great and becoming someone who you can be proud of. So Gareth, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Nick. It's really wonderful to see you again and to take time in this space together with you. And thank you for the recognition and the kind words.
Gareth, so I honestly, just to see you today is just it's really wonderful just to take you in and just to honor you in your presence. So diving right into everything, let's go from the beginning. What was the moment or series of moments that started your deeper awakening? When did the call to do something more become undeniable?
Yeah, so for me, the catalyst was a breakup. I was in a relationship in which, through no fault of anybody involved, but in which I abandoned myself in order to maintain the relationship. This was not clear to me at the time. I was not conscious of it, but this is what I was doing. The relationship ended. In the end, I did not avoid the abandonment. And this really opened something in me. I was so heartbroken. I was so lost from myself and my worth and my purpose. And it really cracked open my heart. And in this very raw, painful phase I was in, quite quickly, actually, there became an intuitive sense that it had a greater purpose, which I had no kind of cognitive idea about what it was, but I felt, no, this is somehow serving me. This was a kind of a knowing. And actually, things started coming into my field, a bit like astrology, other spiritual phrases, concepts, beliefs, and they resonated. And I was like, maybe this is what I'm experiencing. Maybe this is what I'm experiencing. Attachment. And that's how my journey began. And this was the beginning of actually a very, very intense phase of growth where I gained so much clarity and awareness, and also a large part due to the support I had at the time, which was from yourself and Gareth, who I reached out to, and you guys created a beautiful container and held me so tenderly and so beautifully through that very painful phase of recalibration and really finding my way back to myself. So it really started with a heartbreak for me.
I find that we end up going through this process where we can't necessarily escape the feelings and sensations and the reality that you're in. It just everything wants to die. Everything just wants to fall apart. But when was that? When did that point come into play where you noticed that you just had to let go of what you were holding on to? That undeniable factor, like I know this is the path. but I just have to surrender to this path that's availing itself to me.
It was really, in that heartbreak phase.
Mm.
For me, there wasn't any resistance to this. It also didn't come from the mind. It wasn't a solution. It wasn't a coping mechanism. It was felt. And since this point, before in my life, I also lived through felt wisdom or felt intelligence to do certain things in my life. I've always had a good connection with my intuition. Although I would say before my awakening, I was still unconscious, still being controlled and directed by my inner wounding, coping mechanisms, etc.,
Sure.
beliefs, etc., lower self-worth. But I did always have a good connection with my intuition, this kind of inner intelligence. So for me, after heartbreak, when this really became loud inside me, there was actually no resistance. So there wasn't a point where I had to decide. I just went with the experience and was completely open to it, which is a blessing because it meant I could move really quite quickly. And I know for some people there is a strong resistance that the mind will doubt and reason against these kind of knowings and ideas. And some people struggle, really. Some people struggle for a long time to break through this and to truly surrender. But in my case, it was really natural. So there wasn't really like a break point. It was just a natural part of that experience following the breakup.
That's interesting, because normally we have the logical mind that comes in, especially when change is presenting itself, and you've essentially got this old identity and set of paradigms and beliefs that one is so used to living through, but you're being called to express yourself at a higher level, and you're being asked to let go and to shed those layers and to move into a different version of you. That's amazing. That's a rarity on its own. Just having that experience. Moving a little bit more into the business side of things with that, Gareth. So you've built this incredible business, Pie Me Cafe. What has an entrepreneurship taught you about surrender, service, and leading from the soul? And you used the word, that felt sense, not just strategy.
So, I mean, entrepreneurship and business is a great teacher. It's a huge teacher. Probably mostly because, no, I was feeling two things. One is because it provides you a direct reflection of your inner state. The success of your business, whether it's in flow, whether things unfold easily with synchronicity, or whether it's a struggle. Although I believe it's not like a direct 100% reliable reflection, because even recently I have business struggles, but it is a reflection of your self-worth and your success and mirrors back to you. That's one thing. And secondly, if you're not a solo business person, perhaps offering a service as, in whatever field, just as a solo person, then you're going to be dealing with people. So I have now 85 staff. I have a lot of different people. And when you're dealing with people, you're going to have challenges. So the business is a great teacher. Also, the last 5 years, there's been so much upheaval in the business world. It's beginning with COVID, then also with various geopolitical tensions, supply chains, wars, economic crises, energy crises in Europe, etc. There's really been constant hurdles, and this has also invited so much growth.
Do you find that you having this conscious awareness and being, I'd even say self-aware, do you find that has become maybe one of those indisposable tools that you call upon on a day-to-day basis, just recognizing where you're at, where you're showing up from, and the understanding of your own bandwidth when you are dealing with all these different conflicts, different walks of life, different individuals, and I suppose making some of these critical decisions, having 85 individuals that you're caring for indirectly and directly, I suppose.
Yeah, I think awareness and self-awareness is key. At the end of the day, if you want to be successful in business and have a positive impact, to serve and to do this in truth. And this is the critical part, I think, because you can have a business, but not necessarily be serving, not yourself, not others, and not the wider community, and not the planet, and possibly also not God, whichever God that is for you. And I think this self-awareness allows you to access truth in your own behavior, your integrity, your intentions, and then to be able to choose how you wish to respond to different situations and choose where you put your energy. Choose if your vision is truly in alignment, to feel really the whisper of your soul, even to understand what is really in alignment. This is not possible without awareness.
And out of curiosity, do you find that that is an awareness that is just given, or is it something that you've had to work on and refine and continuously pursue within inside of the self?
Sure. I think people arrive in this human reality with different levels of awareness. Sometimes children can display really beautiful awareness, and sometimes you meet someone older and they're really showing really a lack of awareness. So I think some people do arrive with more awareness than others. However, I think it is definitely possible. No, I know through my own personal experience, it is entirely possible to cultivate awareness through dedication, through practice, being willing to sit in the fire, to ask for help, to have people lead you on this path. It is really, really absolutely attainable to cultivate awareness for every person. It just takes a willingness to live in truth, to face truth, and to do the work. Yeah.
100%. I agree with that. Moving on to maybe something that I'm pretty sure you've navigated a couple of times. I think you even mentioned this in a voice note. Just burnout as a whole. What has that maybe looked like for you from time to time? I'm sure there's different variations, but you have telltale signs that's unique to Gareth when he's like, "Oh, I'm treading the line, or I've overstepped and I've emptied out my gas tank of energy, and I'm now got an empty cup that I'm trying to pour into everyone else, and this just isn't sustainable." Firstly, what does it look like for you? How do you then catch yourself within that? And how is that maybe shifted in how you approach leadership within your company, and I'd even just say within your life in general?
So sure. So for me, burnout always coincides with a period where there is ongoing pressures, ongoing stress because there is too much to do and not enough time to do it, and the things that are occurring are perhaps difficult, or even are creating tension within myself, like within my identity. This is also stressful and takes energy. And it's always a period where I'm very much in my mind, really trying to calculate, resolve, fix, navigate whatever it is that's there, and less time in my body, less time in nature, less time taking care of myself. So it doesn't happen overnight, but it is occurring through a period of time. So, sometimes we feel like, this is a great project, I'll take that on. Everything looks good, okay, we have capacity, etc., and we go for it. But then there'll be a curveball might come from somewhere else, something you couldn't predict or foresee, and then you have to take care of the new project, plus the situation that has arisen. This could just be literally too much. In a perfect world, you would have enough resources, as in team, with the right skills and belief in themselves to be able to take these things off your plate. But in reality, often when there's really challenging situations or a new project, it means it comes down to me and my capacity to manage it, right? And this is where I often end up in a little bit of a burnout situation, because there's just too much to do. And of course, the trap is to give up the work to somebody else. First, you have to invest time in them to understand how to manage it. So it's hard to get out of this circle. So for me, the antidote is to take time out, which I've actually done. I was recently overwhelmed due to some situations out of my control that arose, and I really had to handle them on top of a new project, exactly as I described. And fortunately, I was called to and invited to a retreat, and this retreat became the cut. So I just walked away, turned off, took care of everything so that everything would be fine for a week, turned off my phone and entered a beautiful space for 4 days and recalibrated. This is what recovery looks like to me. And now, of course, the question, well, what about after the retreat? Yeah, the situations are still there, but something truly beautiful unfolded in this retreat, where I now have a deep knowing. I received a very deep understanding and recognized my personal identity attachments to the struggles that I have in my field, and realized that they are not as important as they seem. And although I do have to still dance through these situations, I can do it without attachments to the struggle. And that ultimately they can't touch me in my core. The real Gareth is not touchable by these situations, so I don't need to stress. So that's how I'm feeling. So next week I go back to work, and I'm curious to see if I can hold this belief, this recalibration, and take the steps to move through these challenges. So this is what burnout, stepping out, and then coming back looks like at this point in time on my journey.
It's a very clear process. I just want to pause that for permission slip for individuals that feel like everything just feels really intense. So it's really that whole practice of stepping away from the problem, realizing that you're bigger than the problem, and you're able to come back in with a fresh set of eyes, just through taking that space and giving everything a little bit of breathing room. Yeah, well managed on that, whilst you're still taking time off. So you mentioned retreats. So you've facilitated retreats now over the years in a couple of workshops, and held space for others. What do you find is one of the universal themes that you've seen within men today, especially those carrying the weight of performance and provision?
Sure. I think there's really some common themes today. It's really around self-worth, self-belief, shame, even about simply being a man. There is layers of shame associated with that. And presence, as in cultivating presence. You know, this is something that nearly all men need to practice and develop to be able to operate and be in a sensitive way to the nuances of interaction with women, with brothers, with children, within their field, within their space, to be able to witness the nuances and then understand how important their presence is. I think this is a gift that all men should strive to receive, to be able to step up in this way. But first, there is work to do. There is work to do around self-belief, limiting beliefs, and wounds to heal and clear. Yeah, that's the main themes, I believe.
Just touching on the self-worth component, what do you feel that the recurring belief is there? What if you were to verbalize that belief, what is it that you've heard time and time again through these interactions?
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, what I see a lot of is I am not enough. I have to prove my worth. I have to earn my worth. Love has to be earned.
Mm.
This is a really, really clear wound. Mm.
And it's a vicious cycle, that cycle of pain and seeking that validation over and over again. And you do and you do and you do, and you're unable to receive the fruits of your labor, but they've been available to you the whole time. It's just you don't see it. As a father, how has your understanding of masculinity and leadership changed?
I think fatherhood is the greatest responsibility that a man can have. And I think it's also one of the most potent ways in which we can show up and create a better future for the world. I think parenting is one of those really key areas, not just directly from the parents, but also societal. So this is again where presence and connection is so important. To be present with your children, to be connected with them, to see them, and to honor them. You know, to really honor your children, that they are not little versions of you, that they have really different personalities, and to fully accept them exactly as they are, and to love them exactly as they are, and to provide a safe space for them to explore the world from. And I think, you know, this can also be applied to business and leadership in general. So whether it's your children or your friends or your employees, it's the same rules apply. Everybody wants to be seen, accepted, and given the space to be them. Yeah, I think that's what fatherhood has really taught me in leadership.
And I think right now, to be honest, it's a I'd even say a call to arms for men to really start showing up for themselves and showing up in their households and really being the facilitators, and like you said, that safe space. Because right now the homes are being broken up through a lot of confusion, a lot of propaganda, a lot of very interesting conversations which previously weren't necessarily entertained to the same degree. And I think coming down to just principles and values of just being a good human being and a custodian of the family unit, it's so important because all this change starts at home. All this change starts with how you care and honor yourself and honor the people in your home, because it's great that you want to be this incredible leader outside of your home and around society, but then you come home and everything's just falling apart. You have no connection with your wife, no connection with your kids or partner, whatever the case may be. It's an interesting time that we get to live and explore ourselves in. So I think there's a lot of big questions that we know the answers. It's just sometimes it's a bit uncomfortable doing the work to actually make the changes that we know we need to make. There is a lot of noise around the whole concept of doing the work. And I think maybe it's less apparent for men, but it's something that you touched on it earlier, was just being able to raise your hand and say, I actually need help and support. I'm not necessarily sure what that next step looks like. For you, what does doing the work actually mean? And how do you stay connected to your own process of embodiment?
Sure. Okay. So I also just wanted to actually just comment on the parenting aspect again, and it just comes up for me to recognize that it's a really big job that our generation has the opportunity and now this awareness to do something, because parenting for the previous generations has really not been that good in the Western world for a lot of people. There's been a lot of disconnect, a lot of shaming, a lot of not seeing and not honoring children. And this is what we've inherited, and this is what has been given to us to move And it is up to us, and it is a responsibility to do the work to break that cycle, to break that multi-generational inherited trauma. I just wanted to acknowledge that it's a tough case. We've been given a tough thing to do, but it does become it is necessary. It is necessary, and it does come down to doing the work. So that flows into your actual question about what does doing the work look like. Well, it's a dynamic process. It changes, and there's so many different kinds of work to do. There really is. There's so many. So for me, joining containers such as yours, Nick, this is doing the work. And within that container, you also introduced me to so many different practices, from movement, things like yoga, through to energy work, through to subconscious shadow work, also through teaching me and enabling me to feel. So to feel is doing the work. Allowing yourself to fully feel is doing the work. In fact, it's probably some of the most potent work, is to allow yourself to feel pain and release the association that this is necessarily suffering, but to honor it as a necessary and beautiful part of human existence is also to feel pain in your heart, to feel emotions. Without this, you cannot fully feel joy. And without this, things can't move. So I think one of the biggest things is feeling. There is a lot of deconditioning to do, and a lot of stored grief or anger in the body. So yin yoga, somatic practices, etc., can really release this stored tension. So there's a clearing of the stored tension and trauma within the body. There is this opening of the heart to allow yourself to fully feel and to be able to also feel others. There is the undoing of beliefs where, childhood experiences may have made you feel a certain way, like I'm not enough. So there'll be subconscious beliefs there. There is meditation practice, the ability to be still and cultivate focus. Without focus, you're kind of just, flying around without a clear direction. And there is, also cognitive understanding of many concepts like attachment systems, psychology, and also getting to know many tools that are very, very supportive, like astrology readings, human design, gene keys, things like this are also super supportive. So doing the work looks like so many different things. And I think at the end of the day, you should do all of them. And it also means taking care of yourself. So going to that retreat, taking that holiday, sitting by the ocean. And another very important thing actually that comes up right now, and I think it's really important today, is dopamine addiction. Phones, above all else, media, and substances, alcohol, cigarettes, caffeine, all fine in certain doses, all beneficial even in certain ways. But I mean, we want to live a good life. We also want to live a happy life. So, we shouldn't be too fully extreme against everything, but this is also a really important part of doing the work, is seeing what is it you are avoiding feeling when you pick up the phone, because there'll be something there. So long answer, but it's a really broad topic, and there is so many ways to do the work.
I think you verbalized that beautifully, to be honest. Yeah.
And there's more that I haven't mentioned.
Sure. No, thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of people just think it's I read a self-help book and there's a practice or two in there, and I take it and I take that nugget and I move with it, and sure, that's great. But there's layers to this, and there's a never-ending depth. You can just go deeper and deeper and deeper and carry on exploring. really getting to know thyself as you progress. But thank you for that.
Mm.
That was really broad, and I think that touches on a lot of different areas. So that would be an idea of what doing the work looks like. So just you sitting on the other side as someone who continuously dives in and is willing to shift things and change things and recognizes that we all have blind spots. We're always going to have blind spots. And we're always going to have these moments where we might feel stuck or might feel burdened or might feel overwhelmed. Or for someone that's listening right now and feels stuck in between who they've been and who they're essentially becoming, what would you say to them? What would be that next brave step that they can take?
Sure. So again, doing the work also involves sitting down and having a really honest conversation with yourself to really, really feel yourself. And this might mean sitting on a couch for an hour and just not allowing yourself to be distracted and feeling into, who am I? And what is it that I need? And in the beginning, probably there'll be quite some stuff coming up. And this practice may need to repeat it again and again in order to really feel like, really, who am I? And I think just this practice will also lead to many invitations of other kinds of work to do, because stuff will come up that needs to be seen and processed. And I think holding yourself really compassionately, I would also to say to somebody who's in that space, like, really hold yourself with love and compassion, because you are perfect exactly where you are. In that moment, maybe it feels a bit overwhelming. Maybe there are many questions. Maybe you're unsure. Maybe there are things you don't like about your life. You don't like about yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Love yourself. You are on your journey, and this is a necessary part of your journey to feel that. And just hold yourself in love and support like you would a child. And then invite, okay, let's take the steps. It's all okay. Let's take the steps. Mm.
So it's an uncomfortable place to start, but it's a necessary one. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So moving on to just I suppose a lighter note. You're the man of the hour here, where you're traveling, you're doing retreats to circumnavigate your burnout through your self-awareness. You know, you needed some space. You're busy scaling your company, and I suppose stress testing a couple of things. What's next for you at this moment in time, Gareth? What are you creating, exploring, or being called into as that next chapter of life? Fatherhood, impact, business. Yeah, if you're willing to share, what's on the horizon?
Yeah, sure. It's a really good question, and it's evolving. And part of my process right now is feeling into what really serves me and serves everybody else the best. My business wants to grow, and it has been a struggle lately balancing the growth of the business with my own well-being. I had some burnout, as we spoke about. So I'm really feeling into what is next. There's a couple of really big opportunities that could unfold if I put energy into them to expand. For example, having my products in supermarkets Germany-wide. The door is open. There's an invitation there. Or landing one or the other, a big contract that could lead to big growth. There's a few opportunities there. And just checking, is this in alignment? Would this be in alignment? There's also opportunities and invitations to expand the cafe business. As you know, there's 3. It's operating as a kind of a franchise with a central production, and it could be 100 in theory. It's people love the product and the concept, and it's really about, okay, does this serve? What is my motivation? Which part of me is getting lit up is it a part inside? There's fire. You feel the fire inside. This to me is really valuable indication that something is in alignment, and I should go for it. But we have to be very careful because it's a subtle difference between the fire of purpose and the neediness of unworthiness to prove, because it never ends. First it's a nice car, then it's a boat, then it's a mansion, then it's whatever, and you're still unhappy, So I'm feeling into this. There is a bunch of business opportunities. I'm also curious to see what unfolds.
That sounds exciting. Something
It is exciting.
you touched on something there, that the fire of purpose and that void of unfulfillment and lack of meaning, and I just need to keep on validating my existence by doing and doing and doing and doing and filling it up with things. I think a lot of guys are going to relate to. Gareth, if people want to connect with you or just touch base with you, where can they find you? What would be the best way to connect with you?
Sure. So I'm on Instagram. My business is on Instagram. Buy Me Cafe. You can find it pretty quick, and shoot me a message.
100%. For the individuals listening, if Gareth's story resonated with you, if something stirred in your chest or cracked open in your spirit, don't ignore it. This isn't just about business or burnout. This is about becoming the man, the individual you were born to be. And you can follow Gareth and his work. I'll make sure I've pop his details, his Instagram link, and for his business and personal profile. And whether it's connecting through the cafe or joining one of his retreats, since he's gallivanting around Europe, or simply just checking out how he lives and just the incredible way that he presents himself in his life, please feel free to do so. And if you're looking for your next step, to be guided, to be challenged, and to be called forward, check out uncmp.com, and you'll find everything from one-on-one mentorship, the School for Men, or TSM, and the masculine scorecard. We did also add in the nice guy scorecard. I highly recommend you dive into that. It's really interesting and insightful. And again, trust that you were never meant to walk this road alone. Stay uncommon, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.